Wakey, wakey, it's Barguests and Bakey. Welcome to After Dawn, the show where we sit down to have a cup of coffee with the cast, crew, and creators behind Hallowed Haven Studios Productions. I'm one of your hosts for today, Bookkeeper, and with us is the mighty, mighty Latte.
Hello. Our guests for this discussion of Season 2, Episode 5, are the player of the murderous lover Irileth. It's Overthinker, and guest starring player of our loving murder witcher, Oswald. It's Jimmy. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Hello.
Thank you.
Good to be back.
Wonderful to have you. Jimmy,
Yeah.
as a newcomer, welcome to Witcher After Dawn. You face the perennial question. Tell us a little about your character. What can you tell us about Oswald the Witcher, and how are you enjoying playing a bear witcher?
I have been enjoying playing Oswald so much. As of late, it is so much fun to get into this world and stuff like that. And as we know, Oswald is the big brother to Brynhildr, and I am so excited for when more stuff to get revealed. I'm keeping some cards close to my hand with some stuff.
Yeah, there's you guys got him an episode early, right?
Did we?
I mean, Jimmy, you say yay or nay, but I think all the drama's going to happen next episode.
Yes. I think the drama's going to happen next episode.
Oh, I think there's been some drama thus far. We may be waiting for the big meeting, the meeting of the meeting of the minds, the meeting of the witchers, when a witcher meets a witcher, coming through the woods.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I'm excited, but I don't want to press because I know that there's probably, I don't want to entice anybody to spoilers, but I'm so excited for the next episode. I can't wait for everybody, I can't wait for Phoenix to have a discussion with Lady Giselhog. I can't wait for Brynhildr and Oswald to be face to face. It's going to be amazing. I'm so excited for the next episode.
Yeah. Maybe we'll finally deal with these damned Heims. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, and I want to know more about who has this time and all this other stuff. I'm so I can't wait to find out in character what's going on. I really cannot wait.
Overthinker, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Did Irileth at any point have a worry that the penitent was coming for him?
First of all, I didn't roll on monster knowledge to see if I knew what it was. I was just like, Irileth sees a spirit enter the fight. Assuming someone told him, I don't think he would have. Because he sees the things you do in war as different than things you do like crime.
So he does have it kind of compartmentalized.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, I did those things because we were at war. That's a different world. If I did those things in Machina on a bright sunny day, that would be terrible. Because none of those people agreed to fight to the death for some other thing.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I think stuff outside of the war, bad things he's done since then, is like, nah, probably not me still. And then it said Gearsahog, and I was like, oh, damn. Can't wait to find out what you've been up to.
Irileth just out here. Wasn't me.
Nah, man. All my horrible stuff was done with a strict code of, yeah, I kind of had to.
Well, getting sort of Oswald's perspective on all that, it leads into the question for both of you, because Oswald and Irileth have had an opportunity to sort of size one another up, both as people and as dispensers of violence. Question for each of you: how would you describe their initial impressions of each other?
Oswald is still trying to get a handle of this group, not really as good as other, of course, being a Witcher, not being as empathetic or anything like that. So really trying to get like a good eye on the group. So it's still approaching with a lot of caution, but you can appreciate that Irileth could almost go 1-for-1 with him in practice.
Yeah, glance behind the curtain. When we rolled our sparring rolls, the first one was, I think you beat me by 4, and the second one we tied.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think his first impression was, man, I thought there were not a lot of Witchers. And why are they all so damn big? And then, like, Irileth definitely in sizing this guy up, it was very much about that question of how do you treat monsters who are also people?
Yep.
Like, going out for that duel and asking that question is like, if you answer a monster is a monster, I kill everything that isn't human. It's like, oh, well, now you have to die.
The way, though, you were going to try to do that, though, could have been very bad. Very, very bad.
Absolutely. As someone who doesn't read the whole book, I didn't know that a bear witcher with a particular ability who is poisoned deals massive damage.
And I don't stop until you're dead. Or
Yeah.
No.
yeah.
So Irileth did poison him. When he handed him the water, there was a little bit of poison in there that would, in a human, slow him way down, make him way easier to kill. And then when he answered correctly, I handed him the whiskey, which had the antidote. So the poison never took effect. But yeah, glad for my own purposes that we were on the same side.
Yes, indeed.
We call that Witcher power. Oh no, the consequences of my actions.
Exactly.
Irileth is good at what he does, but he doesn't know what he doesn't know. So
Yep.
That's what you get for not putting points in education.
So when the professional Bargus tossing league opens, are Irileth and Oswald going to sign up, or are they just going to be spectators?
Spectator.
Spectator, but
Just
passing
yeah.
enthusiast, but
I mean, I'll bet on them. I'll keep betting on Phoenix. Dude. Yeah, that was wild.
Treat it sort of like cornhole. How close do you get it to the hole? Does it bump another bar guest?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, what's that bar game where you slide the things on the sand?
Shuffleboard.
Yeah, could be that. It could be cornhole or it could be shuffleboard. Because if you knock somebody else's Bargist out, they lose points.
I thought it would be like horseshoes where you have like a stake in the middle and then you try to throw them as close to it as you could.
You bounce someone else's bar guest out, they get to now try and eat you.
Trick is, are the Bargists alive, and is it last Bargist standing? Dude, I think I said it during the episode, and I definitely think that you can as a game master, you can make a moment scary and dramatic, but all it takes is one player getting one nat 20 on some crazy shit, and it's like, oh, there goes the tone. This
Indeed.
is comedy now.
Well, but you can have comedy in frightening moments, because that everybody's going to remember the bar guest being hurled, but that moment is surrounded by a lot of death.
Fair.
It's true. We lost several men at arms.
The penitent was just every time they stretched out their arm, somebody died.
Yeah. I don't remember if I called Runaway before or after that thing showed up, but we heard in the post game that, yeah, good move.
Yeah, it was such a good move to get the heck out of there. I did not want to. Fighting that thing would have just been a pain and most likely more death.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of things that were a little ominous, and I quote, "I was a lady for a time, then I wasn't, now I am again." So, question for both of you: how many sins do you think that statement is hiding?
Quite a bit.
Oh yeah, she's
if she has a legal front already that Oswald knows, yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that we do not know that even Oswald might not even know.
Yeah, right now I'm putting Lady Gearsahog as closer to a crime boss than a noble. And one who slit a lot of throats to get there.
There's a whole chunk of our audience going, there's a difference?
Yeah, some nobles are like the prior ruler of Machina, who are nice and honorable and maybe a little too chill because they pass all their problems off to the court magician, but in this case, no, she seems like bad news, but not necessarily bad news for us.
Yeah, I don't think anyone wants to get on her bad side as of this current moment.
Mm-hmm. There was also a really fun thing that happened listening to her conversation with Phoenix. Very much solidified her character. Like she's going after the sorceress. Like, she killed our family, I'm gonna kill her. I'm on her side. Legit. Awesome. Get it done. And realizing that Irileth would be on her side in that really set me up for the dream sequence that followed. Because it was a lot of I guess sort of figuring out Irileth's code. It was like, yeah, Jack, I did fail you. I should have protected your mom. If you want to kill me, you deserve a shot. Someone cost you your family, you deserve a chance to kill them. Whether or not you succeed is just how the world works. Gone pretty far off question at this point, but
Well, it definitely ties into my next question because you brought up Irileth's code.
Mhm.
Irileth mentioned and kind of presented a viewpoint that the servants were kind of disposable as long as they were protecting Nienna, the men-at-arms. And I was curious, who exactly fits into that category for Irileth as disposable as long as Nienna is safe?
Well, he does professionally. It's kind of a muddy situation because there's also a personal relationship, but all of the guards, basically, and this goes back to the difference between war and peace thing. Anyone who makes their job carrying a sword and being ready to do violence accepts as part of their job that they might die. And if they do, that's not a tragedy, that's just work. Does that make sense? Dark, but
I think so. But so I guess, is there what responsibility do they have, or does the ruler have, to make sure to not throw the lives of those people away? Or are those lives are just are the resource that those people have put forward, and that's just the end of it?
this does get into a question of how dark Irileth is. And I also think because he grew up in the north that he makes a personal distinction between human lives and elves. Not a big one, but it's there. But generally, yeah, in a war, people, bodies, swords, that's just what we're doing. We're trying to make sure there's less of them than there are of us. I also haven't super flushed out what he did for Nilfgaard during the war. I think it was like some contract assassination, some like commando mercenary. It's a bunch. And I think that, yeah, it was a long war. I don't know how he would get through that without putting that aside as okay. Yeah, it's just okay. All those people died, and that's okay. That's just how it goes. Does that answer your question? I'm sorry, I'm losing the thread this morning.
No, absolutely. That definitely gives us some more insight into how he views the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like to pivot a little bit to how Oswald views all these new people he's meeting. Jimmy, Oswald's had a second to see sort of some of the quirks of this group of professionals. Now they've become used to those traits over time. We get used to, Phoenix is a certain way, Irileth is a certain way, but as a newcomer, as someone who's just coming into like seeing these people, what does Oswald make of these strangers who are apparently, at least at some level, tangled up in the lives of his employer?
So, Irileth, I view with Oswald would view with respect, as I said, respect, and after, of course, combat and stuff like that, he was like, yeah, I respect him and I will trust in his decision. Nienna, come on, it's a witch. I'm a witcher. I cautious optimism, but very distrustful because mages, they're just mages. I don't fucking trust mages. Have bad experiences.
Mages be sketchy.
Yeah, mages be sketchy. Sigrun, horny. That's all I can very much get off of. Pretty much getting off of. And Phoenix is very complicated because, like I said, it's weird knowing that there is a werewolf in our party, and I am, as much as, and especially with Phoenix being the lady's brother, it's just like I feel Oswald is like very much afraid of like, I'm going to do my job if Phoenix goes off the rails and starts killing people in a rage or something. Phoenix feels like, oh, this is, I mean, not Phoenix, Oswald feels like they might have to put Phoenix down, and he does not want to do that if that's the case, because it would be very bad. He's not afraid to, but he is still going to be, he is just very cautious around Phoenix. Very much an eye of suspicion upon him.
Little follow up.
Oh, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Are you worried about him taking interest in the lady? In the idea that him are kind of like this, almost like contagion that's kind of spreading among the party.
I am very much, now that you mentioned it, that is now a very scary possibility.
I wasn't until right now.
Yeah. Thanks, Latte. I'm now even more afraid because of the... Oh, man. I'm more afraid of, like, as well, I know, last 2 sessions ago mentioned, did a roll to see, like, I'd not been affected by dreams or anything like that. I'm afraid but that's because I haven't been around Brynhildr. When I'm close to Brynhildr, that's where I'm like, I'm afraid I'm going to have to start getting these types of dreams. That's where I'm going to be concerned about.
In half Stamina Nightmare Land.
That would be, I do not want to be that way, but if that's the case, I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm ready to go with it, but I'm very much, I really want to get this. I'm with Oswald's history of dealing with relics. He definitely does not. Out of anything, relics are the one thing he would be like, yeah, I'm just going to kill it. I do not want that around at all.
Okay, but I want to make a banner for my house and for my friends out of that first part of that statement. I don't want it to be that way, but if it's going to be, well, that's how it is.
Yep.
And we talked a little bit about dealing with things the way they are, and about Irileth's compartmentalization. But I wanted to sort of zero in now on the dream that the hymn threw at him, because he seemed to react very fiercely. He seemed almost angry in that moment about things that were about what he was being confronted with. So I guess does our everyone's favorite assassin elf just not do regret at all, or doth he protest a bit too much when he's giving these sort of fiery retorts about you're dead and that's it?
It's another good question. It's another very good question. And you really got me thinking now. Like I'm character building in my head as we talk. I think it's the distinction between soldiers and civilians. Soldiers killing soldiers, okay. Civilians killing civilians, okay. Soldiers killing civilians, not great. That's why I'm bad, because I'm a soldier who takes contracts on people. And somebody who trusted him to keep an eye out, and his professional reputation was, I'm going to keep this woman safe, Mira, from the first season. And then he didn't. I don't know if he personally feels bad about that. Like, oh, I'm guilty. I'm a bad person because of this. Yeah, I'm honestly not sure. I think there might be a door of regret that has to be kept closed sometimes.
I wanted to say, as a viewer of season 1, that to me it felt like Irileth was kind of projecting his anger at himself out into the nightmare. That's how it felt to me, was that he's had all of this bottled up, and finally he just kind of reached a point where he was like dealing with things as they were happening through his dream.
Yeah. Yeah. We're also going to get into some deeper stuff about Irileth. A lot of the things he's able to deal with, he deals with because he was kind of injured to begin with. We touched on it in the first dream that his mom died and then his dad just sort of abandoned him. So a lot of his coming up early was like, you've got to make it work. There is no room for feeling bad about stuff, but also you still do. Because into his mid-teens, he had a pretty normal life, like idyllic countryside kind of life. So maybe there's some of that still kicking around, and being reminded by a young boy who's lost his family. And hey, maybe it's your fault. Hey, Dad, maybe I'm mad at you. Yeah, that could have brought something up. We definitely might get a "you're not my dad" thing with Irileth. It's very much possible.
That's one thing I'm really looking forward to, and I really enjoy about the season, is how much background and lore we're seeing for each of the characters. I love that it's been just really interesting to see these new facets that we haven't really seen.
Mm-hmm.
As well as like pulling up older facets that we haven't seen in a while. Like Irileth has been really paranoid and at the front of this, wanting more security, wanting like just to know everything that he can know about the situation. And that reminded me so much of early season 1, where Irileth was always on guard and almost a little bit flighty in the way that he was kind of presenting that anxiety and paranoia.
Yeah. Nothing he hates more than being put on the defensive by someone he doesn't know. The emotional advantage of being a hired killer is that the person who hires you gives you a name and you're the thing coming out of the dark. So when someone else is coming out of obscurity after him and the people he either cares about or is paid to care about, it's the reverse. Not fun. Because if the position was reversed and it was him coming after the professionals, at least 2 of them would be dead very, very quickly. I think he's worried there's another version of himself out there, and he's got to contend with that.
Speaking of another version of yourself, I have a question for both of you.
Ooh.
We know that Oswald uses a sword, and Irileth's like main weapon is his bow. And he's mentioned wanting to learn a new sword style. If you could pick any weapon that your character hasn't used previously, what would you pick and why?
You want to take this one first?
Yeah. Honestly, Oswald just a sword guy all around, just like being Witcher, but being able to take up possibly learning how to better use axes because of his background for being near Skellig and stuff like that, that would be interesting, in my opinion. Just
Being able to have like a massive battle axe.
yes, that would be so cool. Just have a Witcher with 2 swords and then just like a big axe, just to be like, yeah, these 2 swords, I just need them occasionally. This mainly does the trick.
Your thrown weapon could be a hatchet.
Yep.
Double-headed axe, one side metal, the other side silver.
Ooh.
That would be gnarly.
That would honestly be so cool.
For Irileth, mechanically, I'm leveling up my skill with knives right now because I keep mentioning them and barely using them. I think personally, my first thought was a polearm, like a big old glaive. His style is already like light armored skirmisher, and if you ignore how that fight ended, I go back to the mountain versus the one guy in Game of Thrones.
The Viper. Yep.
Yeah, the guy who I'm basically playing. I'm not going to pretend there wasn't an influence there. It's like, oh, that guy rocks. What if he didn't die? And yeah, having a big polearm, I could like dance and flip and get a bunch of reach. I think that would be awesome.
Almost like a dragoon from Final Fantasy. It makes me so happy.
Yep.
We have now come to that point in the program where it becomes a bit more of a free-for-all. For Jimmy and Overthinker, do you have any questions for each other? Do you have any questions for us? I don't know what we're going to answer other than this is what we think. But if there are questions you wanted to ask each other, or things you want to know about each other's characters or each other's thoughts, what are you thinking? What would you like to know?
I don't have much as of this current moment.
Well, I'm willing to talk some behind the scenes if you hadn't already noticed, but right off the bat, Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
If fantasy scenario, hopefully won't happen, Phoenix goes off the rails and does go nuts. Can you take him? And how many of us jumping in on his side would it take to stop you? Just on a rough estimation.
Oh, that is.
Just what are the odds?
If it is just me and Phoenix, I feel like I could take that 9 times out of 10, barring bad dice rolls or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
With help, yeah, if Nienna and Brynhilder get involved, I think I'm done for. I'm outmatched. There's no way. Sigrun and Irileth, those would be the easy targets, but at the same time, that would be.
You have to remember, Sigrun is also a pair, because if you deal with Sigrun, you have to deal with Render.
Oh, God, and of course, I did not want to be known as the dog killer of HHS. That would suck.
And if you win that fight, you're the dog killer twice.
Yep. Oh, yeah, that's true. That is true. But no, I would honestly, I still think I could take on some of you guys. Like small group, yes. The whole group, there's no way. I don't believe no way if Niana or Brynhilder or both hopped in, I would have been like, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to fight this. I
Magic
know.
has entered the chat and Oswald has logged off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, if I had to do materium bombs, maybe, but I don't. So
Yeah.
Uh,
Fair.
Irileth, you mentioned that if you had been sent after the professionals, two of them would be dead rapidly, but you didn't say which two.
It would be Nienna and Sigrun.
Mm.
If Irileth had been hired instead of to help them, if Isilgir had been like, hey, I need you to take out the city's mage, it's Vatgern, and also randomly this blacksmith and this merchant. He'd poison Sigrun. He'd snipe Nienna from a very far away. And probably Phoenix would be a problem because he wouldn't know that he was a werewolf until it was too late.
Mm.
So he'd survive the first attempt, and then it would become more complicated. And once I kill Nienna, Brynhilder's like, I've got super senses, and I'm going to make you dead. So she would come after him, and that would be very hard.
Especially if Phoenix didn't take the defensive and you took the offensive, so you have a werewolf and a witcher hunting you down.
Yeah. Definitely take the mage out first, but because she's the most complicated opponent. But that does set off a sort of landslide of problems, which leads to him getting jumped by a werewolf and a witcher, and then he's dead.
We remember our Shadowrun training. Geek the mage first.
Yep. Fortunately, they all knew each other, and they fell in love instead.
Aww.
And now they're just kind of relentlessly adorable. I don't know. I'm having so much fun with this little romance.
It is cute.
it is indeed.
Speaking of romance, I have shaken everyone down except for you, Jimmy.
Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Brace yourself.
no. Okay. I'm ready.
What is your Bed of Roses OTP? It can be a platonic OTP, but what is your one true pairing for the Bed of Roses cast of characters?
Darn, this is so hard.
That's what she said.
uh hmm. I have to admit, when going into season 1 and hearing everything, I am definitely a Brynhilder and the end thing.
French.
But Niana and Irileth is growing on me, so don't worry, OT. So, but that is my take on that.
It's hard to argue with the big sword lesbian, who
Fair.
is also a total sweetheart.
Yep.
The power of Herbo compels you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right. Last call. Anyone have any questions for anyone?
I did. Hang on. Nope, it's gone.
All right. Well, then, that wraps it up for this episode of After Dawn. Thank you so much to Jimmy and Overthinker for talking with us today. If you want more of this overcaffeinated and undermedicated dive into the people and plots of our HHS stories, After Dawn comes out every Thursday. If you want that buzz when it's at its freshest and piping hot, come find us on Patreon. For the cost of a cup of coffee, just $5, you get all our monthly episodes of After Dawn just as soon as they're ready to go. They'll appear on YouTube about a month later. I am Bookkeeper.
And I'm Latte. We'll see you next sunrise for the latest After Dawn.